Hey, hi, hello, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendation video. Today we are doing books that are over 500 pages, so romances over 500 pages. I recently put up a question in my community page asking for videos that you'd like to see. I don't always do this because I usually, I find that like people who haven't been following my channel for a long time, I get a lot of repeated tropes that people are asking for, but it's been a long time since I let people ask me for what they would like to see, so I went ahead and threw it up there, and one of them you guys would like to see is books over 500 pages, or sometimes what we call tomes. I have made this video before. I'll go ahead and share it. So I don't have like a full 10 books for this one. I actually have 8 of them because it is hard to find books over 500 pages that are romances, which is okay. Not everyone likes that, but we're gonna go ahead and dive right in. I'm gonna try to make this one a quicker video. All of the books I'm about to share are books that I've talked about multiple times, but I'm just redirecting your attention to them so that you know that they are over 500 pages. And we're actually going to start out with the most beautiful birthday present that I've ever gotten, which you can see me unbox in my birthday book haul, and that's going to be Manacled by SenLinYu. Yes, this is my epic hand-bound copy that my friend Jo gave to me. She will actually be restarting her romance channel very soon, and I'm very excited about it. Well, she actually didn't have a romance channel before, but she had a booktube, and she's the one who introduced me to Manacled, and for my birthday she hand-bound me a copy of this. But this is a Hermione fanfiction. It is, the copy that she bound for me has 945 pages is how big the bound copy is. Depending on, how your Kindle breaks it up, you might have less, you might have more, but that's how many pages mine is. This can also be broken into like, there's 3 distinct parts within it, but I have the one where they're all bound together. This is a dark alternate universe fanfic where Hermione ends up as a basically like a Handmaid's Tale type person to Draco and his wife in this book. I have talked about this. This was my first 6-star read of the year. I'm so happy to have a bound copy so that I can do a reread of it at the end of the year. I seriously wanted to reread it as soon as she gave it to me, and I have been flipping through it to look at the illustrations because the version that she bound for me does have Avondale's illustrations in it too. It's just gorgeous. This is amazing. It's definitely over the page count. A lot of people have read it because of my recommendation, and I highly recommend. It's just so satisfying to have a physical copy of that. You have no idea. Next, we have Descent by Sam Mariano. This is a extremely dark romance. This has non-consent, dubious consent, non-consent meaning rape. We'll put it out there. There's rape in the beginning of this from the hero to the heroine. This becomes kind of like a stalker and obsessive and I own you, touch her and you die. It is all of those things. It is toxic as hell. And this one, the ebook gets higher than 500. That's the thing too, like when I show the physical books are usually like formatted differently, and so there are less pages than like Kindle books. So some of these I'm going to hold up. The physical books will say less than 500, but I went based off of the Kindle page count. Anyway, but yeah, this is, Sam Mariano is one of my favorite dark romance authors, and this is a standalone. It is part of the Black Heart Romance like series that they were putting out, but the only way that they connect is they revolve around this club called I think it's called Purgatory, or it's called Heaven and Hell. I can't remember, but this was super dark and creepy, and yeah. Calvin is fucked up, but we like him fucked up here. Next, we have Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. This is actually book 3 in the Twisted series. You can read these ones as standalones, though. It is recommended to read them in order, but this is the first one that cracks 500 pages, and I wanted to share it with you. Isn't he gorgeous? For my birthday, I received both the shirtless cover and the discreet cover, both of which I love because I have the discreet covers of the other ones. But this one, I don't have a lot of books that have Asian leads on the front, and he's so pretty. Josh is so pretty. So anyway, this one is an enemies to lovers, and it is about sister's best friend or best friend's brother, whichever you want to call it. So Josh Chen, he is in residency to be a doctor, and his sister's best friend, Jules, who he does not like, they have this antagonistic relationship. She ends up being like a lawyer who is like also, she's working towards becoming a full-fledged lawyer, and she is doing, I don't know if it's like an internship, I can't remember, but she is like working at the hospital where he is, so they're forced to interact. And then they end up being enemies with benefits, and it is very sexy. Josh can be very swoony at times. The third act breakup in this one, Josh definitely peeved me off a lot, but his grovel's pretty good, and again, this is so sexy. This series as a whole, like, I've really enjoyed it. The second one is still my favorite, but this was not a bad go, for sure. Then I'm changing it up and I'm throwing up one. This is not going to be for everyone, I understand, but I'm putting up Shanna by Kathleen Woodiwiss. This is one of the like earliest historical romances out there. Kathleen Woodiwiss being the, you know, mother or grandmother of historical romances. Came out in 1977, and this character has a hot mess of a heroine, but it is a fascinating story. This would almost fit more, well, it is historical romance because the romance in this is very important, but it definitely has, you know, situations that don't always age well, because this one does take place on a island where her father is a governor, and there are slaves and indentured servants there. The hero is actually an indentured servant, and it's very interesting to see how this plays out. So Shanna is the daughter of a nobleman, and he wants her to get married, and she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want her independence to be curbed. So she comes up with a plan. She goes to the prison where there is a man named Ruark, who is set to be hanged for a crime that he's done. And she decides to marry him, knowing that he's going to die. So then she will technically be a widow, and then her father will stop trying to push her to get married. Well, two things happen. One, Ruark agrees to marry her if she promises to give him one night before he's going to die. And then number two, he doesn't end up dying. So she ends up marrying him, cheating him out of his one night with her, and then they end up on the same ship bound for where her father is, the island where he's like the governor or the mayor, whatever he is there. And now he is an indentured servant for her father. And she is a hot mess for 65-70% of this book. There is no denying it. But I read this for, was it Ravished by Romance or Historical Hellions? It was Historical Hellions that I was on the live show for this with Sam and Jessica. And I really liked it. It is one of the oldest romances that I actually really enjoyed, and I really loved Shanna's character arc because she puts Ruark through a lot, and Ruark, you know, there are some scenes of it that may seem as dubious consent, but Ruark, he is like owed certain things. You never owe someone your body, but in the romance math that we're doing, she definitely owes him something for what she's put him through. And Shanna just refuses to acknowledge that. And Ruark is like, you are going to learn not to take advantage of people, and that being a brat doesn't get you out of everything. And I really like that. Also because she will drive you so crazy that when Ruark is trying to teach her a lesson, you like want him to. And also he does deeply care for her. So even when there's moments where you're like, well, this is a little bit sexually dubious, not great. I mean, and it is a bodice ripper. So know that. Ruark is never trying to hurt her. He's like trying to snap her out of just how she's been and everything. Anyway, that's my interpretation of it. It's the only, well, that's not true. I lied. We're about to share another historical. But I really love this. I know it's not going to work for everyone, but it is the oldest historical romance that I've liked. Because I read The Flame and the Flower and did not like it, but that one I do. Then the other historic I want to share. This is Scandal by Navessa Allen. This one solidly clocks over 500. It's almost 600. And I love this book. Navessa Allen, man, I wish she had her books coming out sooner. She is a working woman, though. She has a day job, too. But this is a menage story. So our heroine, Catherine, she becomes the Duchess of Hampshire when she marries, I believe, John, her husband, who is actually a gay man, which we find he's bisexual, but he is shown to us to be, he has a lover named Henry, and she actually helps save them from being discovered, and she is supposed to marry this like really horrible man. And so John, as a like to repay her for how you know, for helping him and Henry escape notice, he says, well, how about we get married? You'll be a duchess. I have a lover. I'm not going to force myself on you in any way. And we could just, you know, we can live apart, we can whatever, but I will save you from having to marry this other person. And so she agrees with that, because at the time she has no interest in being with a man. And she's like, great, he's into other men. She's used to that idea, actually, because her brother is actually gay. So that's part of the reason too why she helps them, is she, you know, she wants her brother to be able to have happiness, and she sees these two and she saves it. Anyway, so that's the setup of this book, is that it's now been a couple of years and she is coming to the realization that she's not only in love with her husband, but she might be a little bit in love with Henry as well. And so these three are in the situation where they're trying to decide if all of them want to be together, and if they want it to be a menage situation, if they want to have that. And I love this book so much, so much. So I highly recommend. It doesn't get enough attention. Navessa Allen just doesn't get enough attention as it is, and I love it. So next, we have Mr. Garcia by TL Swan. This is one of her standalones in her Mr. series. This one as well is almost 600 pages. This one is an age gap, and it's a very interesting situation. So we have Sebastian Garcia, and she meets him when she's a barista, and they have these flirty moments, and this starts like in the past. And then she is also going to college, I believe, and Garcia, he has I think it's his stepson. I don't think it's his actual son. I think it's his stepson. It's been a little while since I've read this. And his stepson is actually in love with this woman. What is her name? I just forgot what it is. Sorry. It's been a little while. Sebastian. April. April's her name. And she's friends with this son, but he is in love with her, and he's even been like calling her his girlfriend to Sebastian. And so she goes to visit with who to her again is her friend. She goes to visit her friend's dad, and when he opens the door, it's Sebastian. And so Sebastian thinks that she's a cheating whore, basically, says horrible things to her, storms, and they don't see each other for years. Eventually, his son, like, admits that, like, we weren't actually ever together. I just wanted us to be together. And so Sebastian, like, ruined his chance to be with her for his son, because he also wasn't going to be with someone his son wanted to be with, his stepson again, but he treats him like a dad. And then they run into each other years later when he's a candidate for, is it like prime minister? I don't remember, but he's in like politics, and she is like a lawyer that is going to be like representing him. I might have totally fudged that up as well. I just know they run into each other again years later, and they are immediately reattracted to each other, and they want to make it happen. So, and in typical TL Swan fashion, it is toxic and crazy as hell. So there you go. Then we have Between Wrath and Mercy by Jess Wisecup. This is a recent favorite of mine. I just read this, and I actually gave it 6 stars. It was 5 stars when I originally rated it, but I could not stop thinking about it, and I give it 6 stars. This is a fantasy, but it is unique in a lot of ways. Like, Emmeline is in her 30s. She is married. She has a daughter who's 15, and her daughter and her husband, who she does not have a close relationship with, they had their daughter, and they've never slept together since then because they were an arranged marriage type of thing. And her daughter and her husband get kidnapped, and so she goes to her ex-love, who is the prince of, he's a prince in the 3 kingdoms, and she goes back to him to help her find her daughter, and then this is them reconnecting, discovering secrets, and trying to find her daughter. I will say, there isn't any cheating in this book. I know I described a husband, so you'll have to see how it plays out. But I absolutely love this so much. It is a wonderful fantasy with an older character with a normal body. I wouldn't completely call her a plus size body because the way the author described her, she's not. But it's amazing. I love what the back says. This is a story about a mother's love, the long path through grief and guilt, and an everlasting romance spanning kingdoms, years, and utter devastation. It was delicious and I ate it up. And then the last one that I want to mention, which again, the physical book does just cross 500 pages. But this one is one of the like standalone ones, but yet you should read the series. And that's Inked in Lies by Giana Darling. This, I have the beautiful alternate cover that has the women on the front. This one is about, I would have to check the names because, oh my God, it's been so long. Lila and Nova. Look at the stuff. So this one is a brother's best friend, as well as she kind of grows up around Nova, and she's been wanting him to notice her all this time. He's had feelings for her for a long time too, but he's kept himself apart. There's an age gap, and it has the normal motorcycle club shenanigans going on and everything. But I have like ups and downs with this series by Giana Darling, but this is one of my favorite books in the series, probably in the top 2 or 3. It depends on the day and how I'm feeling. But yeah, more of her books in this series are also over 500. Last time I did one of these videos, I talked about Dead Man Walking. I'm sure that her newest one will be over 500 pages too. Authors tend to not get their books smaller as they go on. They usually just get bigger, but Giana Darling has very like lyrical and interesting ways of writing her books. Sometimes it works for me, like in this one. Sometimes it doesn't totally work, but wanted to share this one anyway. So there you go. Those are some books that are over 500 pages. I hope you're interested in giving some of them a try. You can definitely tell which one's bigger than all the others from my head. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want more, and I'll see you next time. Bye.